Hello and welcome to the first installment of the Dimension Project Corner, or something that I'll probably name something else totally different later. Well, what I would like to do in these little installments is ask, well, not ask questions. I want you to ask questions, but to answer any questions that anybody may have concerning my Super Gamer Plays, my story, my site, or anything else in general. Now, you may not know me, and if this is the first video you have ever seen of mine, and you just happen to stumble across it, welcome to Dimension Project. Now, I would also welcome you to Dimensional Science because, well, I like to reference that because that is the fictional company that my story is based off of. But let's actually drop to that right now. Okay. Recently, as of 5/5/2011, I have changed quite a few things. A few days ago, I actually started renaming a few things that you may know, but I'll clearly cover them in this video. And if you're reading this for the first time, you probably don't know what the heck I'm talking about. So, just if you want to know exactly what I'm talking about right now, since you may be confused, or confused faced, or confused McGee, or something else, then feel free to look at the wiki at dimensionproject.com/wiki. That is a good place to start if you're confused. Other than that, let's start now. Okay, so one of the first things that I've renamed is Video Games for Life, or VFL. First of all, when I started this story long ago, start kind of giving everything a background, I was thinking. I knew a lot of the names I came up with were placeholders for in case I come up with something better. But of course, VFL actually happens to be one of those names. I actually planned on it to be a little permanent. But as I went on, more and more of what I'm leaning on was technology that really wouldn't, I don't know, make sense for a certain company like this. Video Games for Life. That sounds kind of more of a company that focuses more on, games. My original intent for VFL and Dimension Project and this whole another dimension was actually just to make some kind of game, and you survive, and you beat whatever antagonist I accidentally throw in. No, that actually changed quite long ago, but I did keep a little bits of it, including VFL. However, I decided to give them a new name of Dimensional Science. Now, why am I coming up with Dimensional Science? Well, as you know, the whole series, my site, Dimension Project. What's it all about? Dimensions. So, this company was based on more of, it's hard to explain. So I'll try to explain. If it doesn't make sense, okay. But just prepare to listen to a long video because this will be long. But if you're into the story, that's great. I love you. But if not, then, well, I would pause in between parts. For sure. But anyways, okay, let me try to think. Okay, now I remember. So the reason I changed the name to Dimensional Science is, well, actually, let me get to another point, and I'll get to that later. You may notice I do that a little or a lot, so I'll warn you now. One of the things you may notice throughout the story is there's a few tiny references to things. Now, I'm not going to make it so very obvious on certain parts, but you may guess what kind of thing it's kind of going for. But, however, a lot of it is, in a sense, kind of a joke, insider joke, and another part is an actual reference. So, I mean, if you read half of the story, you may get the later part. However, you probably didn't, the chances you're listening to this video. In fact, there's only very few people who actually read all of what I put out on the interwebs as of now. But, that is not all. There is another reason for dimensional science. And you'll learn a little later. But actually, I just recently started to rename. I'm actually thinking of the possibility of Maison actually renaming it from VFL to Dimensional Science to focus more on, the things he'll focus on more. I'm not sure, but I really do think I need a better name overall for VFL as it currently stands. So temporarily, it is Dimensional Science all throughout. However, I am having the feeling that I'm still wanting part of what I originally intended, and that was to make this dimension a place, where you could just enjoy yourself and feel free to do whatever, because that was Giovanni's original intent to find this dimension. There's still a few, plans and stuff that I'm trying to adjust and flex in different ways. But, anyways, now as for another related rename. As you know, the Master Computer of Destiny, MCOD, now a totally different name. In fact, it's a name that offhand I cannot remember the algorithm. Whatever. I cannot say whatever I wanted to say, but the point is, now it is named, let's see, Master Operating System of Dimensional Navigation and Manipulation. I believe. I'm probably incorrect, but it's hard to remember everything in the world. Even the creator has to, look at a few of his notes. Yeah, it's a shocker there. It's a shocker. Okay. Anyways, point still remains. I renamed that to something, a little less generic. I don't know. Master Computer of Destiny seemed a little, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's something that just felt it needed renamed. It needed updated. It needed something new, fresh to bring to the table. So, I worked on that. And I also been looking at giving this computer a little bit of a personality, a little bit of a kink, or something to make it stand out a little bit. All at the same time, me and my infinite wisdom, yeah, that's awesome, decided to temporarily give it a personality that you may or may not recognize, or at least the same wit. Now, I'll say this out there right now because you're already probably typing your comments in or whatever. But my new redesign of MCOD, now known as whatever, MOSON something 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 something. Yeah, I can't remember. I would have to look at my scripts. And maybe it would have been a good idea to write an actual script to tell you. That way I would stick to it, but well, this is kind of in a first attempt, and I may actually look back at this video and maybe revise it a bit. I don't know. But as it stands, now I totally lost track of what I was going to say. Okay, back on to what I was going to say. The original goal I had on the computer was to give it a similar wit that you would know from GLaDOS. Many of you right now probably know where that comes from. Yes, Portal and Portal 2, etc. and etc. But all at the same time, there's many differences between the two. First of all, this computer is totally loyal to Maison. 100%. This computer is not going to kill a lot of people anytime soon. Unless, of course, Maison orders it. Will he order such a thing? I will not say yet, or deny, or confirm, etc. But I will say right now there's quite a few differences. All at the same time, I wanted to kind of give this computer a personality. I mean, this computer would always be a little sarcastic. I mean, it'd be almost like it's a person in a way. But I'm still working out certain things. You may have seen the video a few videos back, but it was a kind of an experimental video to show you maybe a little bit of the personality of the computer. Because the computer is built to do all sorts of tasks. Number one, of course, in the name, navigation and manipulation, dimensional manipulation and navigation. That off the bat means it's in charge of quite a lot. It may seem like two things, but let's just go to the very basics of what this computer is. First of all, navigation. Now, what could navigation mean? Well, you say, oh, well, that portals, or getting you to a certain part in the dimension, or, you know. And you'd be partially correct, but there's still quite a bit in there. Of course, what else travels besides people and physical objects? Information, of course. There's data, because the computer is in charge of basically keeping an eye on the whole wide world, watching everybody's moves, and it's basically a pretty powerful supercomputer. In fact, it's very powerful, and no one at this point can comprehend its full capability. And to think that it's only in a 0.707 beta form. Now, that's pretty impressive. Or actually, it's not beta, alpha. That makes it, quite a bit, younger, I guess. Anyways, the point is, it's in charge of a lot of navigation. It keeps all of Maison's agents and soldiers and everything else mobilized, informed, and it keeps up track of everything. And, there's millions and billions of soldiers and everything that it keeps track of. So that's interesting. Now that's just one little tiny thing. Now we'll get to the other part. Dimensional manipulation. Now here's the little cool thing. Because Giovanni originally built the computer to manipulate anything in this dimension. The dimension of destiny, or some name I will tell you later, but it'll be renamed as well. Well, actually, I have recently came across a name, and I would like an opinion or two, because I've been thinking of a few things, and I would really like this to be settled. I've been thinking of this Destria, or this. I cannot say the name right now, but I'll put it in the description. So be sure to check that out. There'll be a few questions I may forget, and I'll put in the description. So be sure to check that out and answer it. It really helps me. You do not even know the little bit of it, or the, how much it really does. But maybe you do, so I can't just say, well, they don't know anything. No, I'm not saying that. But anyways, let's see. What was I getting at? Oh, yes. Um, so basically, Giovanni originally planned to manipulate anything in this dimension. My original attempt for Giovanni's attempt was to make this kind of game world where it's basically a big giant editor for a real life game in another dimension. However, now I'm still kind of reworking maybe a few things to make it sound, I mean, kind of along the original intent of my intent, of his intent, which may confuse people. But nevertheless, I've been thinking something along the lines. So anyways, but Maison, as you know, he has quite a bit different plans. He wants to use this technology to correct people, but not only to correct people, but to make a better corrected people. Now, I will get to that subject a little later. But anyways, Maison kind of rebuilt MCOD, or also known as the Master Operating System of Dimensional Manipulation and Navigation, or Dimensional Navigation and Manipulation. It doesn't have to really go in the specific order, but that's the order I give it. But anyways, so we coded the computer a bit and gave the manipulation part a little bit more meaning. Now, what would that be? Well, obviously, if he could only manipulate the elements within the dimension of Destiny, which will be renamed, he's pretty limited. I mean, he would have to somehow capture the whole world, put him in there, or put our world in there somehow, and then he could do whatever he wants. But no. He rebuilt it to have a more of a lesser extent on this power. But we'll get to that after this next topic, which I will now start. Kyrians. For a long, long time, ever since I was around, 10 or 11 or something like that, in 2000 whatever, I have created the concept of Kyrians. When I originally came up with this story, I didn't have I didn't have much of a background. I kind of went with the feel of mad scientists created them, and kind of went from there. My brother Michael, which you may or may not know, probably do not know at all, we kind of had fun, role playing this in a way. It's been kind of interesting. It has been interesting, but nevertheless, I'm now working harder and harder to give a little bit more background, and essentially, the first story is purposed to give you that, but all at the same time, there's got to be lots of action going on, because there's so many things going on. It's very easy to get sidetracked and go, well, what's going on? I don't know. This happened, and then this happened, and here's a bunch of details, and this happened, and we don't want to leave a person left out. All at the same time, we don't want to go, oh, that's so much information. He's overloading us. Good God, does he ever shut up with this information? So, what I need to do is make sure that the reader, you, are entertained as much as possible, all at the same time, not left out in the cold. Because a good writer makes sure that we keep a good balance. Because, first of all, you want to don't overload the beginning with a bunch of details, all at the same time, you don't want a bunch of skips and whatnot. So I'll go back to that topic a little later, because I'd like to talk about the prelude a bit, because that's been a pretty important topic lately, and I've been actually working on totally kind of rewriting it a bit. Well, not totally rewriting, but more of splicing in more information, making it more solid. Because right now it seems kind of skippy. It does give you the point you need, but it does feel like it's just a bunch of facts. Like, Mason was born in March something 2055, or Giovanni's son was born in 20 something something, and or Giovanni started to see strange dreams after Mason's birth, or something like that. And I mean, there's a lot more we can put into the story. Like, for instance, let's actually just show the effect it's actually having on Giovanni. Like, on his work, his projects, what he's thinking of. We want a little more. All at the same time, we want a little bit of action too. I mean, what's the progress with dimensional science, or formerly known as VFL? How's that working out? Is that looking good? Is it progressing well? We want some of those questions answered, and you know. So if you have any questions about a certain part in the story that you feel that should be there, that isn't, please leave so in the comments or whatever. And if you, again, well, let's go back to what I said 2 minutes at the 2-minute marker. Have no idea what I'm saying, and you managed to ignore that first part, and you're still trying to stick with it to see if you don't know what I'm saying. Again, check the wiki. You may know. I still need to update the wiki, which I will talk about in another segment or whatever. Okay. So, I totally got distracted, and that's very unprofessional, but I'm not a professional, so yeah. I'll just put that right now. I am not a professional in story writing. I am not a professional in coding. And some of you may know me as the coder for Dimension Project, which of course I coded the forms with some pretty good inspiration, because let's face it, there's quite a few good forums out there, and I'll talk more about that later. But the point is, I'm not a professional. I do not claim to be, but my goal is to entertain you as much as possible without boring you or seeming too outgoing or too, well, he's just not talking much. He's just sitting there, and you need the right balance. So let's go back to our original topic before we get distracted. Keyrains. So again, as I said, I wanted to give more of a history, because when I first created them as a kid, you really don't think too much of the background. I mean, as a kid, you'd be like, okay, I just want to get into it. But, as you grow older, you start thinking of the deeper things, the details, the background story. Because, like, when I was around 16, that's when I really started to read books and actually look at background information. It's kind of sad, because, looking for background information, etc., is pretty good for school and everything. So, but then again, schoolwork is not really always the most entertaining thing, but you do what you gotta do. Which I'll talk about. That's another topic. Good God, I have so many topics. Which is also another topic in itself. Topic of distractions. Heck, I could talk all day long about everything in the world, but that wouldn't make a very good segment. Excuse me. So then, I actually may split these off in sections, but I'm afraid if I do, it'll take too long to render and everything else, and then whatever I want to say will be lost. So I want to say as much as possible without too much. In fact, I may actually have an idea of splitting off certain topics that you may want to come to, and I'll probably put a certain time on the thing in the descriptions to point out to which topic is being said where. That way, if you want to jump to something, you go to it. Again, being distracted. Let's stop. So anyway, QANs. There's a lot to say about them. Uh, Also, let me bring up that I have been looking at the artwork and what I envision them as, because it's been a pretty big thing I've been doing. As a kid, I don't know, it's kind of an assumption you make as a kid. Like, oh, that's what they should look like. But for whatever foolish reason, I never really decided upon, oh, let's write them and, draw them and see what they look like. I mean, back when I was a kid, I was a pretty good artist, to say. Not to say I'm not right now, but of course I'm a little rusty because I haven't drawn anything in, way too long. So in a way, I do need to get my fire back in that aspect. But thanks to a another good friend of mine, long ago he did a little bit of a rough draft of what he would envision a Kyrian as with the descriptions I gave, and it would look pretty good. And that kind of inspired me in a way to start working more and more on Kyrians and talking about what are they? What exactly are we talking about? I mean, they have the mixture of trillions and trillions and trillions, maybe billions of strands of DNA, and they could basically turn into almost any creature imaginable. In fact, we'll later get onto the topic of combinations, because that will be a pretty big topic later on. But anyway, and it got me thinking of the actual look. And maybe in a few months, maybe less, I'm hoping less, I'll give you some drawings or, some kind of model to look at. Because I'm sure some of you who've been following the story for a while now are quite interested in the actual look. As for weapons and armor or clothes they wear, I'm still working on that as well. It's tricky because you gotta think of every little single thing that's in this one head. All at the same time, you're trying to still come up with new stuff that's totally new, but you want to focus on what you already have and polishing it into something that's good and, have a good foundation, because you don't want to start building a really nice house and you don't got a good foundation and it just all falls into a big pit that you forgot to fill in, because who builds a house over a pit? Well, there's people build it over the shoreline and everything else, but that's a totally different topic. Let's stop that. Okay. So I wanted to give more details to Kiran's, more background story. In fact, I've been thinking of giving more story to Dave. Here's a very, very, very interesting fact. Before Chapter 4 existed, Dave actually didn't exist. I am 100% sure, I think, that Dave didn't exist. So, in the prelude that I wrote originally, I didn't really write too much on Dave. And even after my rewrite, I didn't put Dave in much at all. In fact, I just said, oh, that's when he was born. And yeah, he's a little more behaved. But you don't really know too much of Dave. You don't know what Dave Richardson likes, or what he was like as a kid. What is he like as a almost grown man? I mean, before the incident, or what actually... Sorry, I bumped the mic there. I'll probably edit that out. What exactly happened? I mean, before the incident and we'll get into more of the incident later because we don't want to spoil certain things. We already know exactly um, what Maison did and his plans and how he's actually responsible. We already probably know that. If you didn't read the story, it just got spoilers, and you should be ashamed because you should read it before continuing this little dialogue. But, nevertheless, there you go. So, right off the bat, we have a little bit of detail, but we need more. And I'm thinking of introducing him a little better, or even Waylon a little more, because as it is, at the end of the prelude, I start to kind of, oh, there's this guy who happens to work at VFL, or formerly known as VFL, now known as Dimensional Science, and oh, he overheard Maison, and oh, he got caught, and he'll be talking to him soon. There's not really much there. I mean, what is Waylon like? I mean, a little follow up, a little. I mean, I could always, go to a flashback or do something that shows a little bit of what he's like. But I think what I need to do is give you a little something to look at. Right now, you just know, oh, he's going to be one of the main characters. Why? Because Maison opposes him, and Maison looks like a pretty antagonizing guy. Dave is also another main character, as well as Alicia and Sydney. In fact, I will say right now that there's a planned 13 to 15 main characters. Big characters, at least. They're, heroes to say. Now, some will be more appearing than others. I can't guarantee 100% they're all going to show roughly the same percent of time. That's going to be a lie right off the bat, so I'm not going to say anything. In fact, I probably should have told you the exact number, but yeah, there you go. You can look forward to seeing more additional characters. Now, who are they and what? I will not say. Or maybe it's because I can't say, because maybe some of them aren't created yet, but they are planned. In any case, there are some that are there, but they're not going to be mentioned in this video, at least not yet. Not in this segment, though. Another one. So, yeah, and that also went back into my other topic, which I wanted to bring up, which was the prelude. I want to give a little bit more detail into it. And, tighten the ends. Make it a little better. Currently, I'm rewriting the first part of the prelude, which is, Giovanni forming dimensional science. Because, why did he form it? How did he feel about it? I mean, we know it's like he was a little excited or something, but we really didn't get much out of it. I mean, it could have been anything. So yeah, I am rewriting that. I think I should be able to rewrite the prelude, tighten a few ends on the last chapter that I have written, to be maybe within a month, maybe. Also, speaking of a month, I have Friday, which is tomorrow. I have next week and the week after, and then I am out of college for this semester. That should be fun, because that will give me more time to work on my story, my Super Gamer plays, and pretty much a lot of things. And so far, a lot of this has been over my story, so I'll drop that for now, and let's talk more about my Super Gamer play. As it is, my Super Gamer play has been pretty fun. I've liked recording, talking, commentating. I've always liked entertaining people. That's little did you may or may have not known. Long ago, I'm kind of a shy person. I'm not going to lie and go, oh my god, I am so outgoing. Every time there's a person nearby, I'm going to just jump out and go, hey, I'm Derek. What's your name? I mean, you may think of me as that, because especially if you're from SMW Central, which of course you may have known me as a greeter there for a while. But no, I'm not. I really am not like that in person. I mean, I try to, but when I try to walk up to a random person, it just does not seem to come out perfect. In fact, it's almost hard to decide who's to talk to and etc. I don't know. That's just a little personal trait that I'm working out. But anyways, but I do enjoy entertaining people. Um, it's been fun working the videos. I do plan on introducing one other series along with the other three I've been working on. I will finish Rayman 2 really quickly because it's a pretty quick game if you're, you know, careful or if you're, I lost whatever I was gonna say. It just exploded. So, anyways, it will end pretty quickly. It should be completed maybe within a month, maybe 2 months. I'm not sure. Okay, let's talk about Final Fantasy VII. That's been pretty fun, and it was actually the first video I decided to work on. Why? Well, I have a little bit of reasoning. There's there's a certain Let's Player out there that the first video I've seen of theirs was of Final Fantasy VII. Now, I'm going to say that he's not the first Let's Player I've ever seen, nor was that the first video game Let's Play I've ever seen. The first Let's Play, as it is, was a Super Mario World hack game. So, off the bat, I actually decided to do that game first because not only is it pretty fun and I like role-playing games, but I do want to kind of basically do what kind of inspired me to do it in the first place. And guess what? I will now give a random shout out, even though he doesn't really need it per se, because he's pretty popular. Well, you may not know him, but Dave the Usher, that is his name. And he's a pretty awesome guy. So you can check out his channel, and a link I will probably put in the description if I remember to. Note to self, and if I don't, put it in the comments. Derek, you didn't put it in the description, you dummy! Urgh. But then again, if you heard my voice, then you know Dave the Usher. Okay, good. And another, since I'm doing shoutouts, I don't really like doing shoutouts, but I'll do it just because I'm in the mood. Another Let's Player, in fact, this is the first Let's Player I've ever seen, Tatsudoshi. Another good Let's Player that I like to watch. He's basically even how I discovered SMW Central. Yes, shocker there. Long, long ago. It's kind of a long story. Well, actually, not SMW Central. It's more of reintroducing an SMW Central, Super Mario World ROM hack. I'll probably link the first video I've ever watched in the description as well. But that's basically what reintroduced me to SMW Central, because now I'm going to go into kind of a history phase of this segment. This segment will contain lots of many different things, so I'm almost kind of done too. So, anyways, basically, it kind of got me into everything all over again. Long, long ago, I've noticed there's Lunar Magic and there's SMW Central, and I've been kind of lurking over the sites and everything else for a good few years. Or a year or two before, while it was existing. Also, I also lurked the Alchem boards so long ago. I haven't always been lurking, but I will say that I have been. Just not long enough to really decide, hey, I want to register. I mean, back then I was so shy, I could not register even if I wanted to. But, I changed over the years, and that's been pretty fun. But anyways, as it's come, that's why I've decided to do Final Fantasy VII, because it's what kind of started it all. I was inspired from Dave the Usher's video or commentary over that game, and I decided, hey, why not? Let's try this. I like entertaining people. I think I could entertain people. I think I can come up with something interesting, something, people will find funny. And if I make one person have a good day, I think I did my job. If I've touched one person, in fact, let me get to what I would like to call my philosophy of entertainment, I guess. If I've touched at least one person in a good way, not the way you're thinking, Mr. Pervert. Ha ha, yes, that's funny. That is great. In fact, you should write a story about how funny you are. You're not funny. Just, that's sarcasm. Okay. Good. My self-test was working. Okay, not enough of that. Anyways, back to the topic. If I have entertained someone and made their day better in some way, I think I did my job. If no one is entertained, then I figure out why. Why is no one entertained? Is it the content? Is it what I brought? Is there something I said? Is there something I didn't say? Etc., etc., etc. You get it. I mean, there's a lot of interesting people out there I could talk about all day, but I don't know. The two that really stand out are the ones I mentioned. I could mention several others right off the bat, but I will say right now, they're just the two that's been on my list for ever. And they're probably the two reasons right now that I'm doing what I'm doing. At least, the Let's Players. Which I call Super Gamer Plays, because, in fact, I think the title that I picked is kind of I can't even say the word. But anyways, it's been a pretty good inspiration. It led me to things. So, let's get up to my other game, Minecraft. Minecraft is a very fun game. I love playing it. I have many plans. In fact, I got a plan to make a really awesome house. You may notice the house really doesn't have too much right now. There's nothing to really stand out, but that all change very, very soon. But, if you have ideas or comments, you can always put them in one of the videos or even in this video, because the segments could be considered kind of a headquarters of questions or topics or whatever you want. Kind of a headquarters of certain questions. This is more of a general one. My next segment will contain maybe a more generalized question or generalized segment over maybe my story, maybe my site, maybe my Let's Plays. But depending on how many questions I get, that's probably what I'll focus more on my segments. Anyways, so Minecraft has been pretty fun. I have many plans for it. Notch, he has done an outstanding job making the game. He's already made over 2 million sales. Kudos to him. He made a really darn good game, and it's showing. And, I think it's just remarkable how it all started with one man, and look how it grew. I mean, it'd just be amazed. Like, well, if you saw what this would become, how would you feel? Would you feel, wow, I really need to work on this, it'll turn into something great, or, something random and interesting. But nevertheless, it's been pretty awesome. And there's many possibilities with Minecraft, so stay tuned with that. And speaking of Minecraft, I have been working hard on getting my Minecraft server to work. Oh, it works perfect. Of course. Yeah, that's what a lot of people would probably say. Then we get to the people connecting. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Many of the people that have been trying to connect, they really just don't have the best computer in the first place. So I'm just wondering if maybe it's their computer. I've been trying to have many people connect to my Minecraft server, and it's just not so good. But I'll probably talk more about that a little later. But if you would like to help me out, and you're willing to maybe test my server, please send me a message, and I may add you in a test. In fact, I've been thinking of having someone to regularly join in on my Minecraft multiplayer server. That's gamer play, and that should be fun. But I still need to get a few kinks out here and there. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. So I talked about my Let's Plays. Rayman 2 should be finished pretty quickly. I should get more videos more regularly after college is done with. But I will, focus more on my job, which is going to work out a little differently a little later. And I'll explain more about that situation later. But as of now, that's how it looks pretty much like the future for the Super Gamer Play. There is, again, one special video I may try to do later. And possibly another one, but that's going to be much later. Probably this summer. Or a month from now. Maybe 2. I don't know. I need to focus on, one thing right now. That way, everything works out pretty good. So, I got that done. Let's talk about the actual fate of Dimension Project, or how it's working out right now. Because, hey, that's what's on the screen you've been looking at for the last 47 minutes. Dimension Project, its original purpose, wow. I mean, the main core of it has been some kind of source to share my story, or for some people to look and view the story. It's been very interesting, but I've been thinking of ways to, do its purpose better. But it also has the purpose of sharing general creativity, whether that be art, music, or even stories. And I've been thinking of all kinds of ways to make it look good, all the while programming it to look pretty good. I've been doing some recodes because obviously a first edition of any board will have many flaws, many bugs, and and I've been working hard to reduce some queries and basically make it look better and actually quite literally in the code look better and of course feel better, because no one wants to wait more than a second for a page to load, or 0.1 seconds, because some people like things instantly, because people get a little spoiled. But that's another topic all in itself. I'm not going to talk about that, because we don't want people in the comments going, oh, blah blah blah, we need things instantly, and then another group going, no we don't, you people spoil. Okay, let's stop that. So anyway, making the board look better, and I'm also redesigning it to look a little differently, because originally, Dimension Board, as I call it, originally planned to make it kind of a alternate dimension of some W Central. I mean, it was a kind of a joke board in a sense. It's kind of confusing, but I don't know. What started to be a joke turned into something different. Then the purpose changed, but the design kind of kept constant. And That was not good. It did not look good at all. But now that it's actually changed a bit, and I'm getting things recoded, the code looks pretty good, I must say. Now, while I'm on the topic, and I'll jump to my site later, now the topic of what I'd like to call my future PHP tutorials, or board and site tutorials. I've had the idea to record some really good board and site tutorials, because I'm pretty sure there's quite a few people out there that I don't know, PHP sounds kind of complicated, or I know a little PHP, but I mean, where does that bring me? I mean, what can I do from there? Or there may be people that are semi there. Oh, I know how to code some basic things and basic functions, and I even started to kind of make a board, but what exactly do I do, and what exactly should I look after? Or what kind of security holes should I try to avoid? And I do plan on making a tutorial on that and site building as well, because believe me, PHP really is pretty fun. I've enjoyed coding, and there's a few little projects I've been working on lately, so you may have seen them, but we'll talk about that more later in another edition. Now, to finish up on the topic of my site, to make it more easy to access certain information, the wiki, I'm going to update it a little better, organize it perhaps a little, and, see if you can find information easier. Then an official place to actually look at my story and download. Because as it is right now, you either look on a thread or you look at some download that I kind of put together real quickly. I'd like that to change. So the first thing I'm going to try to do is to make a section on my on my site that's like a story section, and just put my story and maybe some links that will help you, find stuff. So I think that kind of covered my site for now. Now let's jump back into the core of things, my story. So let's see. Basically, as you know, I was reworking the prelude. I renamed a few things in the rework. I have also put in some more information, and giving more details. But I do want to tell you that one thing that really has been helping to get over certain blocks or to write things is when people ask questions. That is what I'm hoping this video will accomplish. Questions. Believe it or not, if a simple question like, oh, what do they eat? Or what will happen if blah happens? Or if this comes across. I mean, simple little questions. All it takes is a simple question, and you wouldn't believe how my mind just brainstorms really quickly to come up with answers. And it's almost instantaneous. Boom! Everything comes out. It's quite nice and awesome. But anyways, speaking of my story, you may or may not know, but I have planned for quite a while to turn my story into an eventual game. Believe me, I have quite a few things in store. In fact, not only do I have stories planned, but I have a little, short stories that are kind of based on the main part of the trilogy. I'd like to call this whole thing a trilogy or whatever, because it's pretty big. Pretty big. It's, almost a headache. But, nevertheless, the story it has quite a bunch of stuff. I mean, first of all, we got Kirans, and we've got the people that work for Mazon. Then, of course, we got the Resistance that is trying to fight against Mazon, which we'll talk more about that later. We got all kinds of things we can work on to make kind of a short story. Because what I wanted to work on is a short story. And one of the short stories I came up with so far is like something along the lines of Kirayan training and you, or something like that. And the video that you watched a little bit ago of the computer talking is kind of the idea. A story where the computer is basically drilling a newfound Kieran with just waking up after all the experiments and wondering first of all, what the heck is going on? I'd wake up in a cell, I don't look like a human, I look like a monster, and I happen to have strange powers. Oh yeah, and I happen to have fur and feathers and scales and etc., etc., etc. That would be kind of strange to wake up to. So you know, more of a short story of a different Kiran. It's not going to be any Kiran that you'll know, but I'm still working that out. The idea was to give a really detailed story about Kirans, and of course the computer and its infinite wisdom of wits and what have you. Now, that also brings up another thing. Speaking of Dimension Project, there's also, or speaking of details, I should say, there's also the maps and everything else I've been trying to work on. Because it's been pretty interesting working on Destria's map. Instead of the Planet of Destiny or whatever I called it, I think I'm going to call it Destria or something like that. I don't know, something that's unique, yet it gives you the idea of what it's about. As the dimension as a whole, I don't know, maybe give it I don't really want to give it the same name. Maybe a similar name, but it'd probably be best for it to have a different name. So if you have an idea of how this should work or what this should sound like, put it in the comments. Comments really, really, really help. And even if you have to put 5, 10 comments to answer all my questions, do so. In fact, I very well welcome 20 comments all at once if you have that many ideas and comments and etc. So, let's see. It's been almost an hour. Wow. It's been going on. I planned on it to be kind of long, but I'm kind of losing track, and it probably would have been a good idea to made a kind of a script. I mean, I may come back over this video, rewrite it later on, but I kind of want to put a video out there to get my thoughts out, to get my ideas, and to see what people think. And if people think, oh, this is what you need to do, that's good, then I'll listen to it and do so. So, yeah. After college is over, I will have more time to think. But in the fall, I will have more gaming related classes. Because as I said, I have really good game ideas, and as you know, I already have the story topped off. I have so many ideas that just, if you were in my mind right now, you would be suffocating. It's really, really scary, but nevertheless. I've been working, again, I've been also trying to work more on the actual details and story and background of Destria, or the Dimension of Destiny, except also the Planet of Destiny, or whatever. And, give more details and map the areas out. Because, first of all, you want to make sure what I like to do is to map out this area, because first of all, you really don't need to map out the uh, world that you're used to, more or less. But if you're making a world fresh out of the void, you really do need to have some kind of map to remind yourself or to see a visual. Because to me, I like visuals. Because that's how I kind of learned a lot of what I did. Of course, a lot of what I learned was off of just practicing and doing it yourself. And that's how I learned a lot of my PHP right there. Just a little thing there. But funny thing is, the first thing which I actually started with was C++, which I'll be learning more of in the fall in college. So that should be fun. The reason why I know a little C++ and not a lot is because the teacher I had in my senior class, it was a part-time teacher. You really couldn't get much from her. I mean, she was a good teacher, I know, but I don't know. I really wish it was a full-time teacher at that particular school that I was at, but oh well, oh well. So I think that should be just about everything. Let's see. Let's run down a visual check list. Talked about story. Talked about the changes of the story. I talked about the maps and everything to do, my plans for it, games, etc. Talked about my site, all my current changes, my and you probably know, but I'm rewriting board, making it board 2 or dimension board 2.0, which should be fun, and going to make a tutorial and oh yeah, I also talked about my Super Gamer plays, and a little bit of history about me. But I think in another segment I may talk about some more history, maybe, if you're interested. I don't know. Whatever you're interested in hearing more of, I will put it down and see if you're interested in it. But I guess until then, I guess that's the end of this video. And maybe I'll make the background a little more interesting next time. But yeah. I'm Super Derek. Thank you very much for listening. And if you listened through the whole thing, thank you. Thank you. That shows that you care right off the bat. If you listen to me blabbing for an hour and 2 minutes, now 3 minutes, you deserve a cookie and you are deemed a good friend. Or, if I know you. And I probably right off the bat know a few of you who will, listen to this, who are actually my friends. But hey, you never know. I could just talk with you and become friends later on anyway. So who knows? Oh, bumped the mic again. Sorry. So I guess this is it. I don't know. That stop button is pretty heavy. I mean, it ends my little session with you. Yes, I'm not talking to everyone. I'm talking to specifically you. Yes, you, the listener. The listener. In fact, I'm thinking in another segment or two or another one, I may do a something. Anyways, actually what I originally did plan for this segment was to make some kind of trailer for a Dimension Project or Maison, and Maison and Chester talking about something. I'll show the bloopers of that later, but expect a little video over something. I won't say exactly what. And now I bumped my keyboard. How did I manage to do that? I don't know. Anyways, thank you for listening. This is my longest video ever. Isn't that amazing? It's almost about to be an hour and 5 minutes. That is awesome. And if you really like my voice that great, then that's great. Awesome. But it'll be 15 seconds, and then it'll be an hour and 5 minutes. So, I guess that's the end of this video. And hopefully this remains the longest video rather than going over. But yeah, I guess I lost my train of thought and I continued longer than I thought. So I'll just end it right here. End it here. Now. And maybe I'm going to also include a few bloopers at the end of this video. So yeah, I am Super Derek. Thank you for listening. I am out. Say goodbye, Derek. Goodbye, Derek. He is such a gem.